Welcome to the Super Fun Game Review Podcast. Go! This is a little bit of a special podcast.
It's special.
Yeah, it's a special one. So, first off, let me plug our Facebook, facebook.com/superfunpodcast. Twitter is @superfunpodcast. You can donate at patreon.com/superfunpodcast. You can email us at superfunpodcastgo@gmail.com. Also, we are on Instagram at superfungamereviewpodcastgo. All right, so before we get started tonight, I would like to say we are down 2 people. Because of scheduling conflicts.
I'm panicking. Oh my god, I'm going to go over here and shoot some things. What am I doing?
We're without Hamill and Steve tonight.
Ralph DiStefano is still panicked.
Yes. Ralph DiStefano is here. We got Harry.
Hey!
And regretting everything that I'm sitting in on. This is
Who is
good
that?
friend John.
Who is that? What?
This is a new voice.
A voice from the dock.
A new voice.
Yeah, you can call me the voice of a generation. I don't mind.
The voice of a generation.
Yeah.
No one's going to call you that, John, and I'm Clark.
The voice of a generation, John.
Let's get into the game development.
Game development. So actually, Ralph, you might enjoy this little fact that I found about 30 seconds ago.
Well, I am listening.
Art inspiration for this game. The movies Elysium, Oblivion, Blade Runner.
What? Blade Runner?
Blade Runner.
I don't really see much Blade Runner at all. I mean, I
Yeah,
see
but-
Elysium. I see that.
I see Elysium.
And I didn't,
Yeah.
Oblivion, I mean, just from the trailers, I can kind of see that, but I don't really go into hard.
It's
The
really-
Sphere.
Cruise
The
movies.
Sphere from Oblivion.
well, I mean, it's
Really?
it's really hard to say that it looks like Blade Runner when all your buildings are 3 stories tall. I mean, at max. Everywhere.
That is a very good point, because those pyramids in Blade Runner are
They're
supposed to be
huge,
like
yeah.
thousands
They're-
of
exactly,
floors
yeah.
tall. So that's,
I
that's
mean,
a great point.
Yeah, the verticality of it just isn't there.
I'm really not seeing Blade Runner in that.
No.
I could be wrong, but definitely Elysium, like with the power armor.
Oh,
and,
yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah,
stuff like
absolutely.
that.
What is it,
Totally
the war suit? The first one?
see it.
Or no,
Yeah.
the exosuit.
Exosuit. I'm
Is
sorry.
The exo-
absolutely is
Yeah.
the,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
Just got to
Looks-
rename your character Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Okay, so when it comes to the game development, a couple of things that I know were that apparently the developers of this game looked at the statistics for the outcomes, which I'm still not 100% sure on how this works, but allegedly they looked at game data and saw that most people who maybe started the game either never finished or lost. So they said in like a press release, they were like, guys, look, we looked at the data, we lost the war. And that, in turn, spurred the story for XCOM 2, which is that humanity loses the war, and it's 20 years later, boom, you're going to start a resistance.
Yeah, actually, I think I remember reading that it was based on the achievements, because there was an achievement for losing the campaign, but there's also one for completing it. And I think the losers won, pretty much.
Wow.
When it came to the counts, the total counts.
I mean, maybe it's because someone played it and beat it, and then they're like, okay, I really enjoyed this game. Now I'm going to put on the hardest difficulty and see how many tries it takes for me to beat it. And they maybe, let's say they wanted to Iron Man it, where you don't reload any of your old saves. And from experience, I can tell you, when you try to do that, it's a totally different game. Like you don't make that turn. Like, oh, you know what? I wonder if I move my character up here, maybe I'll get a shot at this guy. Oh no, turns out it's not the truth. When you're playing Iron Man, you cannot do that shit. And I did not play XCOM 2 Iron Man. I'm sure there's an option for it,
There is.
I didn't play it that way. Even though the first half of the game when I played it, I did my best not to reload. There were certain conditions, like if I lost more than 2 people, I might reload. But for a while there, it was like I was losing 1 soldier every mission, because this game is very different in terms of the way that you play it from XCOM 1.
Yeah, this is a long-standing series. I mean, this series goes back on PC to, floppy disks. This is a very storied and very long history series. And when it came back in 2012, a lot of people were really excited about it. It came back with a lot of, well, let's just call them nerds.
What are we
PC
talking
gamers.
about exactly here? Are we talking about Spoonie, maybe? No?
Well, I mean, I don't know what you mean by that.
You don't know Spoonie? Okay.
No, that's news to me. But I mean, this was an old series, this is kind of a void. There wasn't a game like this, really, that came out anywhere near 2012 that I can think of that was as AAA, as hyped, as advertised as XCOM when it came back.
For this kind of a strategy game.
Yeah, like
Right.
this almost plays, realistically, I'm sure we'll get into this on the gameplay segment. It plays more like a desktop tabletop kind of strategy game than it does
Absolutely.
anything else. So I mean, there really wasn't much like.
I think they
this
made
in
a
the
tabletop
marketplace.
version of the XCOM from 2012.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did.
Gotcha.
Yep.
It exists. It's a thing.
You still miss all your shots.
Oh my god. Oh, okay. We'll get into it.
Yeah, their percentages are skewed. I swear.
Trust me. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only game that I can think of that is almost similar in gameplay would be the Fire Emblem series, because it is like, permadeath in certain games for that series. It kind of has like, it's kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics though in a way, and it's fantasy. It's not sci-fi. I think that's why I was so drawn to XCOM originally when it came out. I mean, I told Harry about it. Harry told you about it, Ralph.
Yep.
Like, I was obsessed with that game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those games where you're either gonna love it or it's just not going to be for you. And I feel like if you want more of a real-time strategy game, which is obviously the more popular genre right now, it's not something that you see a lot of. And I think if more games were like this, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, because you'd have a lot of bad ones. Fire Emblem is an extremely dedicated fan base, and so is XCOM, but it's not going to be your AAA bestseller, Fallout style, sales levels. It's just never going to be there.
I think you mean Call of Duty.
Fallout sells a lot of copies, man.
That's true, but yeah. Okay, so I did want to mention, because you said, Clark, you said about Fire Emblem. I have some of the Fire Emblem games, but I really haven't, played them or sank my teeth into them. And I've actually played, which I think it's based on a similar gameplay, the Advance Wars series.
Advance Wars is fantastic.
Yes, have those, enjoy them. To me, one of the games that I think has come out since XCOM in 2012 is called Old West. It's on Steam. It plays very similar to XCOM with the same camera angles and like two-move based gameplay. It's just styled in the Wild West, sort of like Red Dead Redemption, but XCOM style. And I've never played it, but it looks pretty good.
How recent is that?
That's probably in the last 2 years.
Sounds fantastic.
It does.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's on Steam. I don't know if there's a physical release for
is it
consoles.
PC only, more or less?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Unless you have the Steam console, which is...
Oh, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
like
I
the
forgot
unicorn of gaming systems. There's like one of them.
It's actually Linux based.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Sorry.
So when you guys were looking up game development, did you guys see anything on the teaser website that they released?
No, I didn't.
Advent Future. Apparently it was like a fake website they set up showing, do you want to live in a world without hunger, without pain, without suffering? Well, come on down and join the Advent or something like that.
Oh,
it was
my
apparently
God.
this whole spoofy thing, get people in. And there was like a cinematic trailer on it, and then towards the end of the trailer you would see like the sinister plans behind it, more or less. But I thought that was that's a cool little grab just to get your senses tweaking there.
I love like kitschy shit like that when game developers do like fake websites and stuff. Like there was that whole
Metal Gear Rising didn't have one of those. It had like a countdown, a lightning bolt, and stuff like that.
Rising had one of those. Kojima loves them, but one of the Halo games, they had that website that's like ilovebees.com. Did anyone ever hear about that? No, seriously.
Not the bees, not the bees.
So
Bees!
it was like this whole thing.
Master Chief, bees.
Well, it was this whole thing, and like if you get through certain layers of the game, it starts getting more Halo themed. It's kind of weird. And Dead Rising made a Zombrex website as well.
Yeah.
What is Zombrex?
That was the cure for infection.
Oh.
Not even necessarily the cure.
It was just a treatment for it. But it's I mean, I feel like when you see stuff like that, it's that little bit of extra effort. And the storyline to XCOM 2, we'll get into that, but I think there might be more content on that website than there might be in the actual game. So
Ooh. Hey now,
hey,
dropping bombs.
just hot takes. I'm the
Hot
Stephen A. Smith of this podcast.
Oh God, don't.
The who?
I'm just going to
Hate
call you a
Stephen A.
racist
Smith.
in a while. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Hot take. So one of the things I saw when I was looking up how this game was developed, the first one really had set scenarios. Right, so if you played through the campaign, you got this scenario, here's the map, here's the enemies. One of the things they did in this one that was a little different is they set up some randomized generation and some procedural generation of the map. So when every time you play the campaign, you'll have a different experience. It also leads to one of my biggest gripes with this game. I think that it increases for that really hardcore fan base that we have with a game like this. I think it really helps to increase the replayability of this title, which is good if you're paying $60 for something like this.
Firaxis are the ones that did the Sims games, I believe.
That's why that guy kept looking at me and going, "What did he?"
Steam Club. I would want to throw out there that this game, to me, it sort of came out of nowhere.
Right.
I think I was still playing the, not really a sequel, more like a giant patch for XCOM 2012, which was Enemy Within. And I think I was still playing Enemy Within, maybe my first or second playthrough, and they announced XCOM 2, and I got really excited about it. And the idea that we lost the war and all that, I didn't really buy, because in my canon version of the story we won, but it took some getting used to, but then I was good to go. But I was taken back when XCOM 2 was announced and was pleasantly surprised, and I hope they're working on something right now for maybe another patch for XCOM 2, more DLC, even though they opened it up to mods, which was great. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised.
All right, yeah, let's move on to story, guys.
Story. So when I was sitting down and trying to write my notes, let's say it's probably been a little under a week since I actually completed the game. I don't remember much from the story. It's not that long ago that I beat it.
Yeah.
I have very little I wrote down for it.
Yeah, I wrote some notes on story because I started at first cutscene. You set it up in this way that it's 20 years later, and you don't necessarily have to. And they're very heavy-handed. I think when they do tell you things in the story, when they do show you stuff, it's very here's where it is.
Yeah, they very much just pound it.
They
home,
pound
like,
it home.
Look, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. You need to go do this.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's 20 years later, and if you beat the first game, and most of the people that played the first game probably assume that you beat the first game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking, hey, it's 20 years after the first invasion. I'm assuming that we're continuing down this road of progress or whatever. The aliens have been expelled. And then they bring up that speaker guy, and he looks like the most stereotypically evil. Yeah,
evil dude.
It's literally the most evil looking guy that you could think of.
The weird black stones coming out of his neck.
Yeah, what the fuck was that all about?
Yeah,
I was
weird.
questioning that from the beginning, and they don't
really resolve his story, do they?
No, they don't.
They don't. He just kind of.
I'm sure he got murked.
Well, no, I mean that's the weird part. Yeah.
Oh no, wait, no. I'm sorry. They do resolve it. He gets bum rushed by the crowd.
He gets bum rushed, but then in the final mission, he's still talking to you. It's really bizarre. Like he gets bum rushed by the crowd, and then
oh, you're right, because that's the mission
and he's
before
like,
where
why
you
aren't you joining us? And I mean, they don't make him an adversary. Literally, after the first scene and after the final mission is the only time that you really ever see the speaker. So it's not like you're looking at him as an adversary and this figurehead that's really doing things. It's just a faceless enemy, right? So they tried to put a face to it, but then they didn't do anything after the first scene and
didn't
nothing.
commit to it.
Exactly.
You know what I thought he actually was the entire time, and this is completely unconfirmed.
An
It's
elder?
just a theory. No, he looked like one of the G-men from the first game.
Oh, what the hell were they called?
Thin Man.
Thin Man.
The
Thin Man. Yeah,
He looked. Yeah.
Don't miss him.
Yeah,
Didn't
I'm glad
miss
that
him in this
enemy
game at all.
wasn't back.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
The Vipers might be worse.
Yeah, those guys are irritating.
We'll get into that.
I like
in
the
gameplay.
enemies more from the first game than this game.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There were so many more in this one,
I
aren't there?
I think there's a lot more variety. in the
There's
enemies of this
huge
one.
variety.
no, I don't know. Well, we can do that more.
Yeah,
in
we'll get into
gameplay.
gameplay.
Some other, So I mean, the storyline is pretty bare bones. I mean, it's okay. Did you guys play through the tutorial?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I did the tutorial for the first mission where you save. You save
where
the
you save
commander.
yourself,
Yeah.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I skipped it.
Okay, so
So you don't know the story then?
yeah, you basically go through this, guided tour of how some of the basics of the game work. You wind up
You mean
losing.
in a tutorial?
Yeah, you lose 4 guys, and it's unavoidable, whatever. But
So it's a tutorial.
yeah, I mean, it's weird.
Okay.
But they really don't give you a reason why you're going to do that. It's just hey, we got to get this thing out of here. Nothing's been established with any of the characters.
Because it's a twist. At the end of the tutorial, the twist is that
It's you.
the commander is you, right?
Yeah, the commander is you.
The commander is you. A winner is you.
Yeah.
The commander is you.
All your bases.
All your
belong
bases
to
are
us.
belong to us.
All your base, your base.
Yeah, I mean,
Base.
it's just one of those things with this storyline. I think you could flesh it out way better and set yourself up with way more set piece kind of story moments, and I think it would be a better game.
I don't really know how to put this, but to me, the story exists and it serves its purpose. To me, I usually care a lot about the story for games, but for this one, gameplay. Gameplay all the way. The story, they're the little bits and pieces you get in between missions, and it's always about the next mission, and and getting back in the field.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty clear choice made by the developers of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, like, and I'm not saying I went into like crazy detail of anything of like of this in my head while I was playing, but the story of this is more about your like battlefield stories. Like what happens
the ones
there.
you create. Yeah.
Yeah, like the ones that you just kind of like you make the scenario in your head of like, oh, why is this happening or things like that. Really, you're just playing so far into this gameplay that it is really just kind of pushing your own ideas out into this. The story really just serves a purpose of this is how we're going to set up your next mission, go. Here's a branch, pick which way you want to go. Do you want to go more free roam? Do you want to continue?
And then go.
And then go.
How I saw the story, I tended to... I think I was only half paying attention to it. I think it was so technical with like what they were discussing. Like, oh, we got to get this chip out of this thing, and it's sending this relay
Its
signal.
synapses can be hijacked
I don't
by
know.
using the beep bap boop.
I hope it's not me, but I just saw it very technical. I tuned half of it out. I was just like, it almost read like a textbook than like a novel.
Right.
If that makes sense.
But this
Yeah,
is
okay.
the problem, right? So when we talk about how you get through this game, right, you have to go through this storyline stuff that doesn't seem to be important. They never really tell you, like, I know from just talking to you guys, you were stuck with that Skulljack stuff because you didn't know to do it.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea that
Right.
was like the
And
main thing to do.
Exactly. It was never told you as hey, this is why we need to do this, and here's why it's important, because it's stuck in some flavor text supporting the Skulljack development.
But I think yes, I agree. And I think that's where the story branches. Like, that's that branch that I was talking about, where it's like, do you want to go more into the free roam and kind of level everything up? Or do you want to start hopping into... Because, like, as soon as you start on that Skulljack thing, it's boom, 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 final mission.
Right. The story really starts to take off when you do that. And
Right.
I had this problem with XCOM from 2012, if I remember right, where I got so caught up in research and advancing my technology that the enemies basically gear towards your gear, and I was like halfway through the game, and I'm fighting the toughest enemies, right. And the difficulty the difficulty basically peaked, and from there I used the same crew every mission. And was a save scumming bastard the whole damn time because I couldn't think of playing the game any other way. And I went back and I tried to do a couple Iron Man runs and it just didn't work for me.
Right.
Getting to this, I've put probably 60 hours into the game, and that's not exactly one run because the first time I played it, I got caught up in that same trap. And in this game, it's very different in terms of you need to like go. You can't turtle as your strategy essentially. Yeah. You can't have a couple bases and just live there, which is what I was doing. And I got to the point where the Avatar project was just constantly doing a countdown, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Or I would just stay in my home base and let my guys heal up again and again and again. And I did one run where I just did it for like months. And before I knew it, I was so deep in trouble with the Avatar project that I literally had to crawl my way back all the way from it. That's what I sunk so many hours into. And I debated, because I was like 20 hours in, I was like, oh my God, I completely screwed myself. What do I do? Do I start fresh, or do I try to rebuild this that I have? And that's what I ended up doing. Was I did a couple missions where I really had to struggle because my guys were not strong enough for the enemies that I was receiving, and pushed through and got to a much better point where I only had like three red nodes on the Avatar project, and then I pushed on with the rest of the game. Now, I had done the Skulljack mission, but when I came back to the game for the podcast, I needed to hijack a codex, which is where I was at. And I was doing this one mission where I had to defend like a relay for data, and I needed to do the Skulljack, and there was only one codex, and I was so far into the game that in this mission there was no shit like the codex, the Arcanauts, the flying guys.
The flying guys?
Yeah, the guys that
Archons.
fly. Archons, sorry.
The Archons.
There were those. I didn't know that when you do the Skulljack, the Avatar shows up. Couldn't kill the Avatar, and as you progress and get closer and closer to the thing you have to defend, more enemies just kept coming. Ridiculously difficult. Where they had the sphere that opens up and will just like nuke all your guys. Like, I played this one mission for 3 hours and I had to reload. I started basically from the beginning, multiple times. Now, to me, that's kind of cheating because I'm getting like closer to like a purist attitude when it comes to XCOM. But I sort of realized where I was. I was so deep in terms of the difficulty because of my technology, but I was so far behind in the story that they just like came to a head, and it caused this very high difficulty spike that I eventually worked through and was able to beat the game.
So
Rant over.
So here's if you want to talk about the story, here's the question I'd ask. What's the Advent Project?
The Advent Project is to somehow find a cure to a disease that the elders are suffering from, and they're using some form of cloning and genetic manipulation in order to achieve that end, and you have to use the human race. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
that's pretty much.
Yeah,
what the
I
Avatar
mean,
Project-
they never. Yeah, I mean,
How did they advertise that to the humans in the game? It was
Well,
more
they-
like a
so-
They're
gene
so
manipulation
they're such
to make.
sheep. They're so like stupid sheep in the way that they're depicted in the game.
Yeah, so
yeah.
so what they do is they say, "Oh, you can go get gene therapy and it's going to cure you."
Mm-hmm.
Really, they're just abducting people from these facilities and then turning them into human goo.
right. And
Yay, human goo!
it's more than that, though. They're also getting people out of rural areas. And Just
Give
mouth-
me that booze.
just mouth vomit all over this. Yeah, so they're moving people out of the countryside. See how I did that?
Yeah.
And then moving them into the cities, so they're basically hurting them so they can have more of the
Industrial
planet.
Revolution?
Well, no, I mean, this is directed, and you can see it in there's all this stuff when you read into it. It's about propaganda, and they're basically saying, "Oh, you should come to the cities. The cities are where, all this advanced technology is." And they're really just herding all the humans into cities.
Moo.
Yeah, well,
Bah.
Yeah, I was saying they're sheep more than one way.
So there's one thing that I did really like about the story.
Go.
And it's how they explain if you're coming back to this game and you've only played through it once. I played through the first one once and beat it. My second playthrough, I wanted to try to get everything, never beat it again. So in my mind, I won. The way that they explain that is interesting, and it's like a total classic sci-fi, just like one-off sentence. They say that they were learning from the commander how they could be beaten, and they were running simulations in his head while he was under and connected. That's how they were learning battle tactics. So every attempt that you're failing or every attempt that you're winning, they're learning from that and being able to counteract it.
I got to admit, it was months ago when I started the game. I think I forgot about that completely.
Yeah, it's just like a one-off thing
Huh.
that the scientist says as soon as he extracts the chip from the back of your head.
And I think that they do a lot of things right in this one. I like more being an insurgency against an alien oppressor than being the planet trying to. Well, yeah, instead of being the entire planet fighting off an invasion. Because what drove me nuts in the first one when it came to the story was, okay, we're getting invaded by aliens. They're here. Everybody knows they're here. And then, like, South Africa's like, I'm not giving you money. That shit drove me bananas. Like, because you're basically sitting there and you're going, like, we're getting invaded by aliens. This is a huge crisis. And, like, basically.
There's nothing more unifying for the human race.
Exactly. The only thing that'll bring the human race together is learning that there's something other than human. I mean, to wrap it up, though, like, I think the story in this one's more plausible
I'm just opening it up.
all right.
Well, okay, I kind of like...
I'm going to open it up like a flower.
Bloom!
Just
Do you think love can bloom on the
silence.
battlefield?
Oh, God. Can we just let that fucking thing die?
Love on the battlefield? You want to let that die?
Yeah, I do.
But we are strong.
I am a cur.
Love is a battlefield.
Oh, God.
I was born on the battlefield.
All right, go ahead, wrap it up.
I mean,
Hold on. We need to talk about the ending before we wrap it up. We need to just talk
Okay,
about the ending.
did
of the
anybody watch the ending cutscene if you lost?
No.
No, I didn't.
If you lose the game, it goes to a quick cutscene
Okay.
where the speaker is like, oh, the gene therapy is open. Basically, all are welcome.
Okay.
And that's basically it.
Oh, my God.
It was a very lackluster ending. But I am glad I saw it, just to know, because I think it would have been bugging the shit out of me if I didn't actually lose at least once, just to see that ending.
So I really thought that the Avatar, I really thought that the commander was going to somehow buy it, like he was going to sacrifice his life in order to get his men out, kind of a thing.
That happened in the first one.
Did it?
When your psychic characters have to stay behind or
Oh, you're
something.
right.
Yeah.
You're right, I forgot.
So the ending is what I have my biggest gripe about the story.
Oh my God, here we go.
Because it wasn't a choose your own ending.
Oh God, The Last of Us all over again. All right, Clark, lay it on us. Give us your complete opinion. You're completely entitled to your opinion. I'm sorry, I should be harping on this. Go ahead. You're wrong. Go.
Join us next week.
No, really, I want to know. Come on.
I don't like that the game boils down to only the commander is important, the same way that the first game boiled down to only the psionic warrior is important. And it's essentially the same kind of ending where it's like, okay, the commander goes out and just all of a sudden he's like, I'm shooting beams everywhere from my hands and like, fuck you, elder ghost alien things.
Elder ghost alien things. Perfect.
Yeah, and then, the ending of the first one is like, oh, okay, I'm going to step into this portal and then I'm going to blast psionic shit out of me and blow up the fucking mothership or whatever the fuck. It's one of those things where it feels like a repeated ending, which also in a lot of sci-fi, that's kind of what happens.
What does that
There's
mean?
repeated endings.
Well, I mean,
what does that mean?
in sequels.
They hint at what's coming next, right? So, like,
The Deep?
yeah, what's in the deep and what's going to happen there.
I forgot about that. Who thought that was like the rift from Pacific Rim?
That's exactly what that looked like.
Oh, yeah,
That's exactly what that
Yep.
looked like.
Yeah,
And I think in the
love that
next game
movie.
you might see a completely different, or you might have two different factions to be fighting. I think that's where they might go with
That
it.
would be actually really cool.
It would be cool.
I think they need to throw in a new dynamic at this
it
point.
needs to.
What I want out of the next game is you go through the rift and you're on an alien planet.
Take it on their turf.
I would like to see humans striking out. Instead of like,
That's logical.
We've been on Earth this entire fucking
Yeah, we've been
series.
constantly on defense.
Yeah, let's go on the offense. Let's go.
What if we get a whole galaxy?
Alien planets.
We have to do planet to planet.
Yeah, and you got to search and mine resources
And now it's Mass Effect.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I actually haven't.
that bad of a game, huh?
I haven't played those games.
Oh, hot take.
Wait, what?
That was for you, Kyle Page.
I have not played Mass Effect.
Kyle Page says it's not even worth your time.
Well, I heard that the second one is really
Don't do
good.
that, Harry. Don't do that to that sweet boy.
Kyle who?
Our Facebook just lost a subscriber.
Yeah. And his name's Kyle Page.
Just going off of the Pacific Rim thing, it would be really cool if we had like this one desperate mission, and it's like your 6 guys versus one big baddie with too much health that you don't even know what to do with.
And then you get in a giant robot and pull a sword.
Well,
Well, I mean, you kind of
We'll get to swords.
It just turns into Gundam Wing.
Gundam Wing.
Yeah, you kind of did that. Like, it wasn't one giant enemy.
But what, like the big mechs, the heavy duty guys?
Well, no, I mean, when it's just like
The 3 Avatar.
they just keep coming, right? Like, you just
Oh,
keep
that
getting
fucking
more and
final
more
Okay,
and
so-
more enemies.
So yeah, I mean the ending, the final mission. You guys were talking about it,
Yeah.
and I hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
And I expected this stupid fight. So I went in with my 6 characters and the Avatar, and I basically gave them one buff item and then just a health kit.
Yep.
All of them. I went in and I blew all my money on health kits. I had way too much money at that point anyway at the end of the game because I had everything researched or all the things that I felt that I needed to have researched.
Balling out of control.
And
Big balling.
I don't think I even yeah.
Who the fuck are you?
Big
Trying to make up for the lack of Hamill tonight.
Big ballin'.
Ralph
Big
was
ballin'
walking
out of
in.
control.
Baby
Ralph was
case.
walking in like a baby from the Big Timers, just walking in, just rubbing them hands together with all that money.
So I didn't even reload. I didn't have to redo anything, save or anything for the final mission. What I did end up having to do was my main man, that one character that you really love,
The one you named Harry Bowles.
the one I named Bruce Wayne and made him Batman, and I used him in like 35 missions. The guy had like 60 kills or something like that. I had this point where I was like, okay, I'm down to the last Avatar.
Counterpoint: Bruce Wayne doesn't kill people.
That's true. It's very ironic. I'm down to like the last Avatar, less than half health, and I stop and I go, okay, these enemies, they just keep coming out of these portals. This isn't going to end. I can make a push and send all my characters to that Avatar and kill it, but I have to sacrifice Batman. And I did it.
Ooh.
I sacrificed him, and I got the Avatar. Because I was like, wait a minute. If I finish this turn, the game's over. It won't happen. Bruce Wayne is dead. Killed the Avatar. Boom. Game over.
Anybody else's ears bleeding?
Wait.
Yeah, that was bad.
Hold on.
That was real bad.
Boom. Game over.
Nice.
See, if you would have named him,
Nightwing is the new Batman.
yeah, if
Sorry.
you would have named him Clark Kent, you would have been fine. Yeah, but you had to go with fucking Bruce.
Yeah, I
Wayne.
don't know why. I was like, I think I can make Batman. Boop, boop, boop. Made Batman.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because no one likes
The Ralph 3000 strikes again.
The stuff out 3000. Beep, 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 beep.
the Ralphobot.
Ralphobot. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, the storyline's never going to be the biggest selling point of this game. It's
No.
just not going to be. But I think that I'd be able to see past some of the other flaws with the gameplay and see past some of the other flaws with the way that this game works if the storyline was more robust.
I have to admit,
Sometimes a good storyline experience can make up for mediocre gameplay.
but we're talking about the opposite, aren't we?
Yeah.
But the bad storyline experience doesn't allow it to cover for some of the gameplay flaws. is what
Okay,
I'm
that's
saying.
true. No, you're absolutely right. But I think Clark really hit the nail on the head when he said that this game is about the stories that you make, that you create, the characters that you bring into this world, and then you enact your dramas with those characters.
Yeah,
That's it.
like obviously
love
Ralph
triangle?
was way more
Invested
intense and invested in
in
Batman
Batman.
dying than the actual ending.
Right.
That's true.
One thing I wish they would have done a little bit more of. I think the best game that has ever done this is NHL 2015.
Is that a joke?
No. You finally win the
You
game.
play NHL games?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, NHL games are tight, man.
So when you win the Stanley Cup in NHL 2015, there's like a 15-minute thing of all the players congratulating and freaking out and cheering and doing a group picture and everything like that. And I spent the time in that game creating all my friends as the team.
Mm-hmm.
So they were there.
Same thing in this game. They do a quick little thing, which I wish they would have elaborated. There's a point when you're going down the back of the Avenger or something like that, and you see them all, was it saluting or clapping or something like that, and it just scans by all your created characters real quick. I wish they would have done more with that.
So what I learned there is that Harry cried during NHL 15.
Oh, dude, the NHL ending was awesome when I did that. Like, they're all, like, high-fiving and, like, holding each other up and passing around the
Right,
Stanley
because
Cup
they
and
won a
shit.
Stanley
So
Cup.
he came
Yeah.
and then he cried,
That's pretty normal.
like last Friday.
Or Saturday. And 3 times on Sunday.
Sunday morning.
I come and cry a lot, I guess.
You're a
Well-
sensitive man.
It's in that order.
Before this moment, women only made me cry through my penis.
Oh, damn it, you beat me to it.
I'm sorry.
Gameplay.
Like, what do I think of this game? It's beep.
Ghost Dan.
Oh, Bill Cosby.
Space Dan.
Space Dan. Alrighty.
When you take the laser rifle and beat the bop doop. I don't even know where I picked that up. It
It
got
sounds
stuck
like
there.
Robin Williams when you do it.
You mean from the TV show that he was an
Yeah,
alien?
I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of like Robin Williams
Like Mork
if
and
he was
Mindy.
autistic.
Oh.
No, not from the TV show. More like from the gravestone. Because he's dead.
I missed.
Man, we lost everybody good this year. By the way, can I just say how we lost everyone that was good?
This is my resignation from the podcast.
Go ahead, continue.
I sent a text to. I sent a text to Bob who was like, "In other news, George Lucas slipped on a banana peel and broke his fucking neck." Like, it's just like,
Would anyone
this is
care at this
ridiculous.
point? He already
Yeah,
sold
I mean,
Star Wars.
it wouldn't be an issue with the
You'd be like,
story.
"Oh, he's gone. Okay, thanks for staying. Bye."
If you really want to do that, you say George R.R. Martin.
That would cause a riot.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
it would be the worst. Like, chokes on a fucking roll.
People would like.
Like, because that's how George R.R. Martin dies.
As he was trying to add one to the collection.
Right. Yeah.
I'm all full up. I can't fit another one.
Oh, fucking George R.R. Martin. You.
Well, he's like really into sailing. What if you like Rex?
Well, he's really into eating, too. I mean, I love the guy, and I think his books are great.
He's like really into eating.
But
Said
he
every fat
literally-
guy
You
ever.
like eat 3 times a day.
Well, no, like he literally goes around to these Comic Cons and like fans of his like volunteer to cook him
Just
food.
bring me food, please.
So they make him
that's
like-
all I want.
Put it in my mouth.
I'm gonna lay it down. Just pour the gravy in my mouth.
Hold on, Harry. Could you say that one more time?
Put it in my mouth.
All right, and on to gameplay.
Gameplay.
Thank you for that intro, Harry. Let's move into gameplay.
Go.
I've always been a huge fan of the gameplay. It's interesting. It's frustrating. It's frustrating in kind of a good way. I've never been like frustrated where I want to just like turn it off and never play it again.
Rage quit.
Yeah. I've never wanted to rage quit from it.
I had some moments where I
Harry
almost
quit.
did.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got into that final mission not knowing what I think I was the first one. Was I the first one to get to the final mission?
Unconfirmed.
I mean, it was.
You might have been.
I might have been. I got to that final mission not knowing what I was getting into. And I got there, and I was just like, what the? It just kept going. I was like, it was bad. And what makes this gameplay so interesting to me is that it's so different. It's one of the most unique kind of gameplay experiences that I think you can find on consoles right now. Or on PC.
Well, on consoles, I think it's a bit more rare, this kind of a strategy game on a console, because you can't really do it with two analog sticks the way you can with a keyboard and mouse. No, definitely.
It's got to work.
It's got to work the sticks.
It's got to
work the sticks.
Ralph, work the sticks.
What does that even mean?
Dude.
You know.
Work both sticks? How many sticks? Oh, God, now I get it.
More the merrier.
Oh, man. Tummy sticks. I don't want to play that game.
Whoa.
Played that guy's dick like an Atari. Just grabbed it and rotated it around and pressed on the top.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Bird up.
Did you say bird up?
Like bird up.
Bird up.
All right. So I think the reason to play this game
All right.
is for the gameplay.
Oh! So...
So, the clap. I did not fucking clap.
No, you just have the clap.
Oh! Have you ever noticed
Get there. Get there. Get there.
that sometimes when you're lining up a shot and you've got like 99%, fucking missed?
Okay, so
It's weird. He went Travolta there. That was a.
Travolta.
It was like
Yeah.
Harry then Travolta.
just like Harry into Travolta. They both have
That
the
wasn't
same amount of
intentional.
hair, so that's kind of close.
But Travolta can afford the hair transplant?
That's or their wig. So yeah.
Roasted.
So what Travolta burns.
Yeah.
Coming
oh,
in with
boy.
those Travolta hot takes.
Stop saying hot takes. God damn it.
Stop saying Travolta.
It's like one of those words that you just keep saying it and it stops making sense.
Travolta.
I gave all of my
Travolta.
soldiers Travoltas, and we went into battle to fight Travoltas.
You had like different Travoltas. You had like Grease Travolta, Saturday Night Fever Travolta, like Battlefield Earth Travolta.
Pulp Fiction old Travolta.
Yeah, Con
Broken
Air.
Arrow.
Oh, no, that's Nicolas
Broken
Cage.
Arrow.
Face Off Travolta.
Con Air Travolta.
Nope.
Nope.
Said nobody ever.
No, so
Oh, you see
what
this
I actually
plane? It's
no,
mine. This plane is mine.
Oh, fuck.
You see this god here? He's mine. He's mine.
This is mine. Oh, fucking John Travolta.
Fuck you, John Travolta. Why didn't 2016 take your dumb ass?
It'd be funny if like we check our iTunes and it just somehow it's like Jay Travolta
Like, it's like
leaves a review
related.
1 star. These guys made fun of me.
So let's talk about the gameplay aspect of.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get us back a little bit.
When you're
here.
fighting the Travoltas, I find that if you use the Travolta, it's really helpful.
Yeah, when you're fighting multiple Travolti.
Always flank.
Travolta,
and then,
actually.
then,
Is it
then you
Travolta?
get
Travolta
100% chance.
Let's get back into gameplay.
So the reason to play this game is for the gameplay. Fuck the story.
In stone.
Ooh, wow. Just fuck the story straight up.
I like I said when we started recording, I don't remember much of the story.
For a living, I do statistical analysis. That's basically my whole job.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna fucking listen to it.
Oh my god! So
You're gonna fucking listen.
all the percentages probably drove you crazy.
They drive me fucking bananas. If-
like when you miss on an 80%.
B-A-N-A-N-A-S. My shit is bananas. B-A-N-A.
Shut up before I come over there and Travolta your ass.
I will shove us some banana.
Which is exactly
That's
the future
so
thing.
far.
It's going to be a Royale with cheese.
Jesus. Okay. No. I'm putting a hiatus on the Travolta jokes.
No, fuck that. That's the theme of the night, motherfucker.
John Travolta.
Travolta.
XCOM 2 enemy
Special
Travolta.
Can you bill me for this as like special guest John Travolta?
I can't even remember how
that
we
would be
started
amazing.
it. Oh, it was my. You said I sounded like it.
in the
Because
description.
you went into yes.
In the description for this, it just needs to
John
be,
Travolta,
it just
oh my
needs
God.
to say the hot takes from the guys, from the super fun guys on John Travolta
John Travolta hot takes.
And XCOM 2.
and XCOM 2.
No.
The guys discuss John Travolta and XCOM 2.
No.
Hey, it's a gameplay.
So
Let's try this segment again.
I was thinking about
So-
hitting him with a fucking shot of adrenaline.
yeah. So
Felt pen.
so here's my
Oh, guys, I shot Marvin in the face.
I didn't do it on purpose. It got me in the bump and I didn't hit no fucking bumps. The whole like checks and balances system of do I push my character further on or do I put them in a defensive position? Like the whole way that I don't even know how to say it. Like the way that it's structured on 2 turns in an action, I really feel like that is of course unique.
I do statistics for a living. You can go ahead and do whatever you want, but here's the thing. There's a test that you can do to see if a dice is loaded or if a coin flip isn't fair, right? And it's based upon if you have what they tell you the percentages are or the odds of something being successful, and then if you have enough samples from that dice, you can say, you know, this dice is fair and this dice isn't. The dice in this game are not fair. And I did some research afterwards, and when I was kind of done with it right before I was coming home for the holidays, the dice for this game do not roll accurately. And if you miss, you have a greater chance of, it's not a fair die. There are hands in the code. So this game messes with the probabilities based on if you've missed shots in the previous actions, if you hit shots in the previous actions. That affects whether or not and it is, if you look it up, there are lines of code that if you miss 2 or 3 shots and then you have a 70% chance to hit, you're going to hit. It doesn't matter how low your probabilities are. You basically get a 10% bonus and a 10% penalty onto consecutive hits and consecutive misses.
I think the term in code is actually a stack table.
Because I've missed on 100% chance with a blade.
Yep.
Yeah, so have I, actually.
Yep. And that'll happen because it's literally
Horse shit.
It's messing with the code. And when I'm making strategic decisions, and in this game where it's so important to make good strategic decisions, if it's a real 70% chance, maybe I take that risk. If I know that it's not, I don't know if I'm going to take that risk anymore.
It makes those 49s,
Right, yeah.
you know, like really, or 44s. Like, and at the same time, I've hit on a 22%.
And you will.
Oh, yeah, so
and you
have I.
will. And that will happen. I mean, it's just a 22% chance to hit. But the fact of the matter is when you're starting to tip the scales, right, based on how successful your shots are, being a superior strategist and getting good shots shouldn't be penalized by reducing the percentage of your chance to hit.
Couldn't agree more.
Right, so that just drove me batshit crazy with this. And I really, really want to like this game. You know, it's right up my alley. I love strategy games. I love stuff like this. That killed it for me, personally.
That's a dumb move to do, though. Like, if you're going to deliberately put those percentages out there, let the player make those choices. Don't do a hidden
Exactly.
a hidden agenda.
Exactly.
more or less.
Make it accurate.
Yes.
Tell me what the odds are, and I'll make the decisions based on what the real odds are.
Yeah, because
But don't put your fingers on the scales, because it drives me nuts.
I mean, there are additional buffs that you can add to your character, obviously, as you level them up and they
Right.
increase in rank. So it really seems to mute those additional, or even more like the weapons, I guess. Like you get a better, the weapon add-ons, the mods, like you can have a better scope for, plus 10 accuracy.
Yep.
So that's all being nerfed because there's an internal percentage
Right.
running that I didn't know
Well,
about
it might have
until
been-
you just explained it to me.
Right, exactly, and it's there. It's in the code. People found it because those code files and those probability files, those are all in the computer.
Right.
You know, they're all in the computer, man. But it's
Well, and the game was out on the PC for almost 9 months before the console
Right.
port came out.
I think that's a little shitty, to be honest. For it,
I'm glad we got the port, honestly, because originally when XCOM 2 was announced, they said PC only.
I remember that actually. Yeah.
There was a huge uproar about it because it won a lot of consoles Game of the Year for 2012, and people were fucking pissed. I was one of those people. I heard it was announced, and they were like, "Oh, but it's going to be PC only." I blocked it out of my mind because I wanted to play it so bad, and I was like, I just don't have the PC to do it.
I pre-ordered it on Steam.
okay. Now, you guys, I might be in the minority for this. I hate games with permadeath, and that is actually, I turned it off. I was the guy that would, if you lose a couple members of your team, I would load.
Same here.
I
Don't feel guilty.
Yeah, that's different than if you lose a guy and finish a mission and they come back, right? That permadeath is just if you finish the mission and they're dead, they're dead. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, well, that and like the autosave feature where you couldn't load data or anything like that. I can't
Right.
play games like that. That and like my
Iron Man mode.
True. Yeah.
What do you mean, Iron Man mode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, two things I've always hated with games is permadeath and persistent worlds. Those two features on games drive me fucking nuts.
What do you mean by persistent?
What was that one game? State of Decay. Like where you would
That
Close
drove me
out the
nuts in that
game. come back later and it's a whole different gaming experience because shit happened while you logged off. And I'm glad they gave you the feature to at least turn it off so that I can enjoy it the way I like to enjoy games.
Yeah.
But especially with like a long game like this, I could not tell you. Like if I was to get like 40 hours into this game and then my team gets wiped and then I have no way of just like loading up a game,
Well, that's
I'm fucking done with that game then.
that's the Iron Man mode, right? So that's if you really want to challenge, right? If you wipe a team in Iron Man mode, you're starting over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way that game works.
You might as well start over.
Yeah,
at that point.
you're not going to be able to recover it.
I have a question. Did any of your characters die?
No. I don't like the
Perfect
fact.
one.
Yeah. I say
See,
I didn't
I
even
think
do the
that-
tutorial either, so
and
I literally
You
had no.
didn't,
and-
you
and-
didn't do the tutorial
See,
just
I
so
think
we can
I
avoid
think
permadeath.
No,
That's-
that wasn't the reason why.
That'd
I
be
just thought I
amazing,
was
though.
like, oh yeah, I know how to play fucking XCOM. I did the first one.
Right.
I'm just gonna hop right in.
I actually think permadeath in this game is important.
No, I understand. I
Personally.
see why the argument for that to kind of raise the stakes more or less, but me personally, that's not the way I like to play games. I'm glad they let me at least play it the way I like to play games.
Well, it also forces you to have a really truly balanced squad. Like, would your guys get wounded?
Yeah. So some of my guys would be out for like 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
12 days, I think, was the most I had.
Harry, actually, after failing to shoot like 3 things.
Yeah. Lost his legs.
No. You got wounded for 31 days.
That
You were
would
out
be-
a month.
That'd be interesting
Jesus.
for XCOM 3.
You missed out on
you
4
lose an arm.
missions.
Lose an arm, get a
You get
cybernetic implant.
Graft on an implant.
That would be pretty cool.
That
That'd
would
be
be
cool if
cool.
it gives you a bonus but a negative at the same time.
Right.
Like,
Can't
You
jerk
can't.
off.
You get a higher accuracy, but you can't move. Yeah, try with a hot dog, or you might rip your dick off
Yeah.
first.
There's like a training minigame.
It's something dark
You're
side.
just like grabbing. Ah, God.
No mini games. Good God.
mini games would not fit in XCOM.
No.
It's okay. You get like a cybernetic arm or a cybernetic leg. Let's say
Right.
you can now climb higher, but you can't go out as far. A plus and minus. Checking or
You're
Yeah.
slower horizontally, but not vertically. So one area that I thought was a real big gameplay issue, and I know it has a lot to do with the procedural generation that they decided to do with this game, the load times on consoles
Yeah.
are
pretty bad.
absurd.
well, I got it for the PC, and I got to tell you, loading in really bad,
Right.
even on PC.
But
Even-
it's not just that it's one load screen. I can deal with one load screen. You say I want to launch a mission. You go to your squad select,
Mhm.
and then you hit launch with the squad. Then there's a load screen,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes you to the ship where you're sitting at a load screen, basically. And then you hit X to launch the mission, and then sit at another load screen. Like, you're talking like 3-4 iterations of loading. You're not doing anything while your guys are sitting in the helicopter, right? You're just staring at them riding along, right?
Yeah.
It's really a loading screen. And then you're getting 3 or 4 load screens in a row. And you're just like 2-3 minutes later, maybe you're playing the game at that point.
Right.
I mean, I should get a solid state hard drive for this game.
That's crazy. I mean, but I downloaded it.
No, one thing that did work to their advantage, though, they really reinstate that propaganda shit with the load screens where you see like the two people being all patriotic and you just see like all the
Advent banners?
Yeah, the Advent banners
stuff.
or all the Advent warriors standing in a row all like saluting or something like that.
That's only when you load into the game, though.
I didn't need to stare at that for a minute.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think the load times are long, and I think
They're
it doesn't
long.
matter. It doesn't matter the platform.
And if it was, I'm talking about other PS4 games here. You look at it, I play a lot of Destiny. Destiny has some long load times sometimes. But when I load into a raid in Destiny, it loads pretty much the entire thing. It's pretty seamless for the rest of the time I'm playing it. This is a load screen, and Destiny is a fully realized 3D, multiple people, first-person shooter. And this is a tabletop, let's be real, this is a tabletop board game.
Which, we'll get to graphics, but they're not exactly blowing your socks
Right,
off.
yeah, they're not blowing me away with the graphics here. The gameplay is fine. I don't mind the gameplay other than the statistics stuff, which I can even be okay with. The load times for a next-gen console game, for a PS4 game, are totally unacceptable. It's way too long, and I don't want to waste an hour of my time just sitting there and looking at loading screens. And it feels like that's what I'm doing every time I play XCOM. It's not something that says I hate this game, but man, is it annoying.
So, what was everyone's favorite class?
Ranger.
Specialist.
I don't know, that's a tough one.
I'm guessing no one says Grenadier.
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 I do like, they're probably my second favorite.
I think my favorite is actually the Psionic Warrior. Once you get them leveled up, I literally sat one in there and got all of the abilities that I could. They are super fucking powered in this game.
I didn't even have one.
I almost
you
didn't
You
use
should
them at
Right.
all.
Yeah, and I didn't. And that's one aspect, because of the first one where they shoved psionics down your throat. I was like, I don't want to deal with these guys this time. And I was short on power, and I was trying to knock back the timer.
I'm not going to lie, that psionic lab to create those guys was so late in the game for me to actually make that lab. And it was definitely on the bottom tier, off to one of the side rooms. And at that point, all my characters were at least somewhat leveled up. They were beyond that rookie point. I didn't want to make another character at that. It just...
I got to the point where I knew I was going to go to the final mission, and I only had one tick on the Avatar project because I had wiped out all of the facilities that I could. So what I did was I made my Psionic Warrior. I had a bunch of guys that were wounded, and I just forwarded time and ignored shit. And let me tell you, if you just consistently ignore stuff, it goes to hell real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It took a month, and I had gained 6 Avatar project ticks. But I still had 3 left, so I just went and did the final mission to beat the game. But my Scion could dominate things. He could permanently take mind control over something. He could do guaranteed damage, which was awesome. There was one that did 7 damage. He could shoot a beam in a straight line, and anything that was in it would take 9 to 12 damage. It was nuts.
Oh, that was what the Avatar at the end of the final mission. That's when I started to get into some of those abilities, because I had 3 or 4 abilities for my one chick who was Sonic. I had 2 that I took on my final mission.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I could. That was an ability that I would get. I was sort of okay, here's the last mission. We're going to throw you guys this. We're going to throw you a bone here and give you, the Avatar that has all these crazy, abilities and this weapon that we've never seen before, except, against it. Well, that's cool. I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, he had the Silence, Soulfire, Domination. It was really cool. They were easily my favorite class, but I really only used him for the final mission. He didn't. Well,
did they take so much time to actually learn the abilities that they
5 days to learn one ability?
There's a mission every 5 days.
5 days to learn one ability, and that was with an engineer in the room with him.
I'm doing something wrong because I had 16 days for an ability.
Did you put an engineer in the room?
Probably not when I tried to.
Yeah,
to
so
were you next to a workshop, Clark? Are you next to a workshop where your psionic lab was? Because that could
I was next to a laboratory.
That'll do
That'll
it.
boost it.
Well, all my
Did
research
they have
went
the
down.
chain bonuses with rooms in this game? Because they were visible in the last game.
Like the
adjacent-
laboratory and the workshop.
Well, I thought for
I
power
only-
stations too.
I only remember the gremlins being able to assist. I don't remember rooms button up against each other. Remember in the first one,
Yeah.
there would be like
Yeah.
a link bonus that was minor, but you could chain like a bonus. And sorry, not to get too off topic, favorite class.
Oh, yeah, you didn't answer.
A very specific one,
All right, moving on. No, I'm kidding.
the sniper, but I like the gunslinger sniper.
Yeah,
Gunslinger.
that's
Okay.
actually the next thing that I kind of wanted to transfer into is like, I liked that all the classes had 2 trees.
Yeah.
The Psionic Warrior did not, but it's because you're tailor making it to what you want.
And it takes the whole game to perfect them anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it legitimately took a month to learn 6 abilities.
That's insane. That's insane.
But he was so clutch.
Couldn't you learn the abilities through combat at all?
No, they don't learn that way.
No.
See, I don't like that.
Like I got the achievement for having the highest rank Scion. That
Really?
you could. Yeah.
See,
It's
I
like
didn't-
it's a magus. Sorry, it's
No,
the
yeah.
equivalent of major. Like
Oh.
like all the soldiers, once they get up to major, they have all of their abilities.
Right.
Magus is the scion that has all of their abilities.
It's not Colonel. It's Major.
I thought it was Colonel. Colonel's your highest.
in the last game, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, you could
You're wrong.
level up a character normally and then give them
Wrong.
psionic attacks on top of that.
Wrong.
That sounds right, I think.
That is right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is right.
I kind of like that way better. It doesn't have to be overpowered psionic abilities, but just that little added touch. I don't like that dedicated character. Or even if you wanted to go balls to the wall with like keeping somebody in that lab for a month, why couldn't it be on top of another class? Why do they have to start out a rookie?
If you had a major like specialist or, a sniper, like a gunslinger that also had all the psionic abilities,
Yeah, your bar would be across the entire fucking
yeah,
screen.
it'd be crazy.
The health bar doesn't have to be affected by
No,
the-
I'm not
No,
talking
your
about the health
ability
bar.
bar
Your
would-
ability bar would be across the
Huge.
fucking screen.
Yeah,
You'd
you
have
need
so
more,
many things
Like,
to do.
I had like
Oh, yeah. I see what you're
shoot
saying.
and all that stuff, and then like 6 psionic.
Well, they could have
abilities.
simplified it where it was like almost like a roundabout where it only kept like 8 on the screen at a time.
I
and
mean,
then-
that would change the
Yeah,
format of the
fuck
game.
it.
But yeah, no, I
I just
I
you
get
just
what
want
you're
6
saying.
super soldiers. All right, so everybody said what their favorite class is, but why is it your favorite class?
already explained why I like.
Yeah, I
the
think
Scion.
Clark has hit that.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'll go. For the Ranger, the way that you could just like throw them into a situation and know that they're going to get good criticals and they're reliable kind of thing. Not long distance, obviously, because they basically use the shotgun. But it's sort of a carryover from the first XCOM. I liked that version of what were they called? The shotgun toting guys in the first one.
assault. I think
yes.
I think they were very generic
Yeah.
terms in the
Yeah.
first
Assault,
one.
yes. So that was my favorite class. And the other one, I was like, okay, let me just use it. And I have to admit, I played XCOM and Enemy Within, and there were so many instances where there was one enemy left, and I just wanted to have a melee weapon to run up and finish it. And with the Ranger, you get that. So almost all my Rangers had Blade Master, get the extra attacks and all that. And I used it sparingly because I didn't want to leave my guy out in the open, which is what anybody would do in this game. But having the ability to do melee and cover such distance to get there and to just end whoever it is that was giving you, a good run for your money or the last enemy on the level on the map, fucking loved it. Didn't get old for me.
I think the best ability the Ranger has is if I kill something, I'm immune to the first attack. You can't get hit.
That's
used
their
that one,
like
yeah.
highest
Untouchable.
ability, right?
No, it's
No
like a
way.
fourth
Untouchable.
level ability.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I might not have taken that one.
No, I'm just saying the best ability is the Reaper one.
Reaper Sense of
Reaper's good. I
It's where
agree.
you just keep every kill you get with a melee weapon, you get to make another move.
It's good if
Oh,
you're
that's
fu-
the one that
it-
stacks.
hack
Oh.
slash, hack slash, hack slash.
It's good if
it
you're
reduces damage each time, but as long as you weaken all the enemies beforehand, you just go in and finish with him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great ability too. But I like the Rangers. I just think there's a good path to go down with the Ranger abilities, and then there's and I think this is true for a lot of the classes.
What, the conceal route?
The conceal route,
Yeah.
I don't think is nearly as useful as unless you really want to be like, hey, I'm going to be a scout. I'm going to run around and just find out where everything is.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but when I play this, I typically was like, okay, I can see what this is for and how it's used, and I could go online and it could tell me this ability is used more, this ability is better,
Yeah.
pick this way and do it that way. But I would always be like, okay, I have 2 Rangers. I'm going to do one, like, okay, this one ability I know is absolutely the best.
Right.
Or I'll just be, here's one on one tier, here's one on the other, and experiment and see which I like better.
It's a good point. The first playthrough when I actually lost the game, I would basically have like 2 of each class. Do one down the left tier, one down the right tier, see what abilities, because some of them aren't very clear on their description.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You really have to see how it plays out in several different scenarios to see, like, is this a useful or is this a shitty ability?
Yeah, and there's a lot of dud abilities, I think, too. And, you know, the specialist, I think, I could have, if I was going to play this game from the beginning again, I had 2, and I kind of did what Harry just said. I was going to have 2 specialists. I was going to have one that was your healer, and I was going to have one that was my combat tech guy, right?
That's what I did, basically.
Right. I wish I would have basically taken medical protocol and the final healing ability on my healer and everything else in combat.
The final healing one, that's where we can do the whole team.
It heals everybody.
That's a gross ability.
But the other ability is just as good for the specialists. That's the biggest area of effect attack, I think, in the game. It's like 7 squares across. The capacitor discharge is huge. It's a huge square of ability. And it does, I think, 7 to 9 damage against everything, and then double to any inorganics.
Right.
So it just wipes any mechs that are, or those tall fuckos.
Those things are fucking stupid.
Did that ability have a cooldown, or was it a once per battle?
1 per battle.
Okay.
But if you did it right, you could take out 3 or 4 enemies easy with 1.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So, I mean, but if I could do it again, I think I'd just take combat protocol for both of them, because I think the advantage of that combat protocol is, you know, aid protocol is good, but combat protocol is guaranteed damage against any target. You don't even have to have line of sight.
Best defense is good offense.
Right. And if you can eliminate something before it gets another 2 shots off, you're going to take it, and you don't have to be near them to do it. And that's what I think makes sense.
You don't have to be near them to do it?
You don't have to have line of sight to them.
Jesus.
It was combat protocol is pretty gross.
Sounds broken.
Yeah, it worked on what was it? Was it squad look?
I think it's squad sight.
Squad sight. That's what it is. Yeah. So if anybody in your squad could see them, you could target them with it.
Yeah.
Actually, Harry, you were my tech guy.
Which is funny because he doesn't know how to use an iPhone.
It's true.
Beep, boop, boop. Yeah, I got the flip thing, right? Oh, no, that's an iPhone.
He's got a flip iPhone.
He's got a razor.
Flip
yeah,
iPhone.
I got a flip iPhone.
He built a cover into it.
Screen's a little cracked.
Got that spider app.
Yeah. Look at the Spiderweb app. I don't know how to turn it off. Harry,
Maybe you can't.
Oh.
You know, because I think nobody said Grenadier. Grenadiers are super useful early in a battle. And then you just kind of run out. You're just shooting your chain gun at stuff.
I could never get anything to actually land with that damn chain gun. Like
I wrote it down.
It's not about the chain gun with that.
It's
you
about
get
the
It's about the shred.
and shred your
Shred's
armor.
good. Yeah.
That is the main use for the Grenadiers, is get rid of enemy armor.
I wouldn't even say that. There was 2 abilities I used consistently on the Grenadier, and that was 1, they are the first attackers to destroy any and all cover around your enemy.
Yes,
to
that is
increase
also
the
true.
percentage odds. And then it's guaranteed damage being in that explosion, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's a good way to weaken an enemy, so you don't have to use 2 other combat units to eliminate that one threat. You've weakened multiple units with that one blast, then you just take them down, boom, boom.
That's the Grenadiers are usually how I started my move from concealment.
Yeah.
Like it was overwatch a bunch of guys and then
boom.
hit something with a big grenade, blow out a wall, and then basically say everything else is going to shoot at them as soon as they move.
Now, your point with the shred ability, yes, I think I did that 100% of the time.
Oh, yeah.
But the other ability I very consistently use with them is because percentages are a big part of this game. They have another ability with a guaranteed hit. It uses 3 ammo slots, but it's a guaranteed hit, and it hit for 7 to 11 or
it hit for whatever your weapon damage was.
Yeah,
I don't think I got my Grenadier up that high to get that ability.
Oh, that was an
Yeah, same
insane
here.
ability.
Was that one of their? Was that their last tier?
No,
no,
their
it's-
last tier was
The cone or the
it was the one it does damage, but it also increases the damage by plus
Everything
4
else, yeah.
from every other person that shoots them that turn.
Oh, wow.
Or something like that.
yeah.
Like it was crazy powerful.
I feel like I sent my guys in untrained now, talking to you.
But no, real quick, just to explain why I like the sniper class, more specifically the gunslinger. I loved that ability where you shoot everything on screen.
Oh, so good.
Oh, yeah.
That was
It was
a good
clutch.
That was a
And
good cleanup move,
Yeah.
or a good just ping everybody down enough to get everybody else to wipe that team or something like that.
And it worked with squad sight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would just literally hit anything you could see. It
Lightning
was
hands and
crazy.
follow it up with that.
Yeah,
kind of a
lightning hands and then hit it. It was just crazy.
Yeah, lightning hands, a free ability, a free shot every turn.
I would-
It's a good way to stop Overwatch too.
Yes.
True.
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. I would use that to, like, if there were a bunch of guys in a street and I needed my team to cross, sniper on the roof, hit them all, pull them out of Overwatch, and then run. It was always good.
Yeah, back to what Ralph said on the chain gun. I literally have in my notes here: 10 feet away with a minigun, no cover, 44% hit.
Stupid.
Like it.
They had, I mean, it's...
It was just hilarious because you'd have this gigantic robot that you're shooting at, and this guy's got a like a comically large chain gun, and he's just sitting there, just like
Gritting his teeth.
and it's just like all around him. Like I was like
Yeah.
half expecting the wall behind him to fall down, except for like a cardboard cutout
Right.
of the guy.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy. Like it was just like
They were super inaccurate.
they were so inaccurate with that
You
thing.
think that's a balancing issue?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
It was
They
the
were-
same way last game too.
It was.
They couldn't hit the broadside of a
It
barn
was.
in the
Yeah.
last game.
But they would also have the hollow targeting in the last game. I don't know if that
Right.
was in this game.
It was.
It was. It was an ability.
It was useful too.
Let's talk about, like, upgrades real quick. I think it's probably the last thing that we... Did anyone, like, use any of their upgrade tree to get the different suits? The suits were fucking clutch. Because you could turn any person that was wearing the different types of suits into... They get one shot for the entire mission where they can fire the rocket
launcher.
Yep.
and you could replace a grenadier. Like, I wouldn't take grenadiers because you can research the heavy weapons,
Right.
the experimental weapons, to the point where you get a rocket that has shred on it. So I would stop taking the grenadiers. I would take just everybody in, like, it was like the war suit.
War suits, right.
The exo suit. They would all have these heavy weapons, and you could just, like, fire it just like
Spider
you could
suit
any other
Ranger.
rocket.
I had 2 war suits and 1 like wraith suit, and that was it.
The Wraith suit was awesome. Like, the warp,
Yeah.
where you could warp in and out. And then
the spider suit was really good too.
the spider suit was
With
awesome.
the Ranger, where you could just be like, and I'm up on the roof now, and it was a free move, and it was just like, ugh.
I did that for my snipers too.
Yeah,
I would
it was
just
crazy.
like boom, sniper on the
I
roof.
didn't play around with the different armors, minus the one that auto regen your health
Yeah.
every turn or something
So
like that.
I will
Okay.
say this
Yeah.
about the tech project specifically with the Guerrilla Training Center, which is where that
Yeah.
experimental armor and suits come
Yep.
from.
I'm sorry, real quick before you finish your point. The experimental stuff. How many tiers were on all those things? Because I felt like I kept hitting experimental ammo, and I got so many, but it never ended.
Right. So the experimental ammo is a consumable, so you have to equip it, and then it like uses it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
It's that
yeah.
mission, and then it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And here's what drove me nuts, getting back to that consumable stuff. When I build a consumable and I spend intel or supplies or whatever to build something, I kind of want to know what I'm going to get.
True.
Right.
And it's dice roll. It's you're saying, give me some experimental ammo, and I really hope I get acid rounds, right? Because those are the best ones. And it's just like, if you don't get them, well, good luck.
The
Reload.
armor-piercing ones were pretty good.
They're good, but they're not.
I didn't actually ever
I
get the
didn't
acid,
use
so I can't
experimental
They're
compare.
not the
ammo.
best ones though. Like,
Man.
and when you're trying to prep for like the final mission, you just want to build like acid rounds. If I research something, once I know how to do it,
You should be able to unlock it.
you should just be able to buy it.
True.
And that just let me have
right.
these things that I need so I can go finish this game.
Let's talk enemies.
Yeah.
Let's.
We'll go around real quick. Favorite enemy, least favorite enemy. My favorite enemy would probably have to be the avatars. They were fucking annoying. They were super fucking tough. They moved every time that you fucking shot them. And honestly, I thought it was great how they were like, look, you need to kill 3 of these, but we're just going to continue to spawn them in.
Right.
They looked cool. I kind of like, I liked their design. My least fucking favorite enemy, those goddamn Vipers. Those fucking Vipers that could just be like, oh, I'm going to literally pull an organ out of my body that is 700 times the fucking size of me, get you across the fucking map, and then pull you and bind you. It fucking pissed me off. And their beam weapons did way too much damage. The Vipers were just fucking annoying because it would instantly make a situation out of nothing. How one of my rookies died was they got vipered next to a faceless.
My favorite enemy, I kind of think I liked the design of the Andromeda. The guy in the suit that you have to kill
yeah.
twice. Adramaton. You know, initially they were a big pain in the ass to work on, like to try to like to kill him, and it was like, oh my god, I gotta you know, do all this stuff. But after my specialist could, you know, either I think they can hijack them.
They can hijack the suit after it dies.
They
the
can
first
hijack the
time.
suit. when they would show up, it was like, oh, okay, cool. And they're kind of like a big daddy or whatever, but less and less I was like, oh man, there's a real threat. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have fun with this. So I would sort of put it that way, that was my favorite. And my least favorite, I have to admit, is the Vipers were a complete pain in the ass, but I played for like 10 or 12 hours to finish, and I didn't come across more than 2 Vipers. I don't know if I got to the point where I'm serious.
Wow.
I'm dead serious. I Vipers just stopped showing up in my game, and I think I got the tech so advanced that they would drop mechs, they would drop the eyeball thing, they'd throw everything in the kitchen sink at me, but I didn't get Vipers until the last mission, and there were only like 2.
Speaking of, you only encountered the Viper things twice. Not
the whole time, but I mean for this last chunk that I did.
Oh, okay.
So I'm at like the end game basically. The Vipers have disappeared at this point.
There's no Vipers once you hit end game.
The ball thing. What was that?
Oh, the Oculus?
Yes,
It's not actually called the Oculus.
The
it's
Oculus.
not. That is also an enemy that I would put up there as.
I only encountered one the entire campaign.
What?
Really?
Yeah. But again, I sent a picture to you of the team, and you said, oh shit, I didn't know you weren't playing with the final armor or something like that. Or
Yeah, you didn't have the final armor.
I'm wondering if that's like maybe they scaled it back.
Well, no, I mean you find that one in the story mission.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because it pops out.
Yeah.
It's like when they first introduce it to you. And unless you go on a bunch of more random other missions, if you go right into the final mission,
I kind of just like blew right to the end after that.
right.
Yeah, okay.
So you might have just walked through a randomization that didn't have it.
Okay, got it.
I didn't say my least favorite.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I have to admit it's the Codex.
I hate
Really?
those. I hate
Yes,
those fucking
because the fact that you shoot them and they splinter off and they teleport and they can like take out the ammo for your guys. I guess I get my guys in pretty close knit groups because I was constantly getting hit with grenades and constantly getting hit with those large area of attacks like that. And if I was in a mission and there was more than 2 codex on screen, I mean, it was just a disaster. I mean, yeah, you can put everybody on Overwatch and attack one and then see what happens, but the Vipers literally went away. Maybe the last 20 hours of the game, I didn't see many Vipers, but the codex kept at it, and they really started to annoy me about halfway through.
Yeah, Vipers always showed up for me for the guerrilla missions. The retaliation missions.
What are you going to say, the people?
I thought those were mostly chrysalids.
See, I didn't see chrysalids until the portal mission.
Really?
Yeah, that's when I
that's
first
the
saw
first time I
chrysalids.
saw a chrysalid.
Maybe that's part of the story. Because I
don't know. I mean,
I had an effect where I picked one mission over the other, and the mission I didn't pick was a chrysalid will show up in all of your missions for a month. Which,
Fuck that.
Yes.
Because fuck
That
those
was
things
bad,
and their
yes.
goddamn poison.
Yeah, okay, that's actually my favorite enemy of the game.
Chrysalids?
They're annoying as fuck. I'm gonna give all you guys that because that poison. I hate how the poison damage is randomized.
Yeah.
And even
1
when they
to
pop
3.
up, if they're in range, they can come and attack you with like barely any defense. I found myself changing my tactics on a mission that I knew that they were in. I would basically walk very minimally, Overwatch.
Yep.
The whole
Very safe.
team.
Yeah, because you never know when they're going to show up.
That was the only defense to them because they would just come up and fuck your shit up.
I also changed my tactics when I knew they were there, but I would go Rangers first with the Blade Storm.
Yeah, Blade Storm's so good.
And I would just have them go
we've
first,
established that.
have everybody in Overwatch. They would usually hit them, and then by the time they came up to attack the Ranger kills them first.
I think the chrysalids are actually more dangerous in the first XCOM.
They're way more dangerous.
Where you
than the
have
first one.
those hostage missions where you have to say there were hostage missions in this
Yep.
one, weren't there?
Kind of. It was like either eliminate all the guys or save as many as you can. It wasn't like you have to save.
The number counter, right? Where you have
Yeah.
to save like X amount.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about, the rescue missions.
I felt pressure in the first game. I did not feel pressure.
I
in
had
those.
no pressure to save shit in the second.
Yeah, like I felt as long as
Interesting.
you were cruising through, you could typically eliminate all the enemies before they even got close
Yeah,
enough.
you absolutely could, because as soon as you exited concealment and they knew you were there, they'd go to you and not to the other guys.
The concealment mechanic.
Least favorite enemy. What was the giant mech thing?
Daddy
That could just-
Longlegger mech.
That could just stomp through.
Sectopod.
Sectopods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Those things scared the shit out of me every single time. I would focus all fire, just ignore everything else,
Yeah.
and just try to
You
take
have
these things
to.
down. And
Yeah.
they would take me usually 2 turns, and I'd be like crossing my fingers, and I'm not going to lose somebody. On
Yeah.
that one turn.
Well,
that
because
it
they
actually-
then they stand up and they do that fucking beam.
found out in multiplayer what the stand-up does too. It gives you a bonus on
Hype
ground
bonus.
target.
Yeah, hype
Yeah.
bonus. I thought there were a lot of clever enemy designs. My favorite was probably the heavy trooper that had the overshield ability.
Really?
I thought those were brilliant.
Shield bearers? Or
The shield bearers
is
that
what
would
they
just
were?
pound the ground and give everybody 3 extra health. Because if you had 2 or 3 of them against, and I had a couple of missions where they showed up like in force, and you'd have 2 or 3 of those shield bearers, and they'd come in and you'd be like, and you'd move one guy one too many squares, right? And they see you, and the first thing they do is they go, hey, I'm going to pound the ground here, and then everything has double health. If you have 2 of them, everything has 12 health minimum. But those guys, I think, were really well designed. They didn't have a lot of health, and if you dealt with them early, they were easy to deal with. But if you let them go one turn, they will punish you. And they punish you not in damage, but by making everything else harder to kill permanently, which I thought was a good mechanic. Least favorite, I got to agree with Ralph here. Those codex things are the worst.
The worst.
They were, man. They were really, really irritating. The split ability, I had multiple times where I'd do damage, they'd split, and then my game would freeze up or crash.
Oh, really?
Because you'd get like 2 of them, and they'd overwatch, and you'd have 4 of them, and then they're trying to teleport, your guys are trying to overwatch shot them, and then you're just permanently waiting for somebody to shoot at something.
We didn't really talk about crashes or
I had a number of
or
crashes.
issues or
and
anything like that.
And I think there's a whole section here where we just, I think, could talk about quality of life in the game. Load times, crashes, bugs.
You already talked about the load times.
The stun
Graphical
batons.
bugs.
The stun batons.
Well, graphics.
Yeah, I know.
Like, the stun baton guys, I swear to God, they took like 4 actions every time I fought them.
They seemed like they could do the Ranger's ability, though, the run and gun, where they could take their 2 movement actions and then do
An attack.
their action.
Yeah.
Well, no, if you
makes
think about
sense.
the Rangers could do that normally with their melee attack. Like,
Right.
that was a weird... that took a little getting used to, that you could do your double move and then
And-
swing
Yeah.
the sword.
Well, if you use the run and gun, you could do 2 and then shoot as well.
Yeah, no.
Which
I'm
was-
glad they
which was
brought
big.
run and gun back to this game, too. 'cause
Yeah.
That
That
was
was one of my favorite abilities from
exactly.
the first one.
Yeah.
But
And
I think they had that. I think the stun troopers had that.
they were very dangerous, even late game. They
Oh,
were
yeah.
very dangerous because of how
Hugely
much
dangerous.
damage they would do to your guys
They'd
and
do
or
8.
stun them.
They were probably
8
the
and a
number
stun.
1 threat early on in the game. To be honest.
Absolutely.
Easily.
All right. So, if you don't mind, for a couple minutes, I'm going to talk about multiplayer. Okay.
Go.
I had a couple issues with it.
Only if you can do it real quick.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Come on, Harry, do it quickly.
Hold on, I have one thing to say before you talk about multiplayer. Let's talk about crashes real quick. Did anyone have any crashes to the game?
Yeah.
The last mission I had a crash.
I had a couple crashes.
Yeah. Fucking pissed me off. My game crashed 3 times while I was trying to do the final mission.
That's
I'd get some progress. It would fucking crash.
That's-
Oh, this is before I got into it. Mine crashed once before getting into it. It wasn't halfway through or anything like that.
I got to the avatar room and then my fucking system crashed.
yeah.
And guess what save it didn't save in the
The
auto.
The
Avatar
one
room?
where you
Yeah.
use the eye thing to clear a path. That one didn't save.
No,
Or
that
was
one's
that-
saved. That's the one I beat the story
okay.
on.
Right.
Because let me tell you, if you want to talk about how fucking ramped up enemies get when you go down the fucking tech tree, having your entire fucking team show up in the exosuits, war suits, like no one, excuse me, having your entire team show up in like the exosuits, the war suits, the wraith suit, everything pretty much has armor.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to that
Everything.
point too where everything was just 3 or 4 armor.
Yeah,
You're
it
just
was-
like,
it was-
come
wow.
on.
It was
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
And you just run out of ways to deal with it if you use explosives.
Right. All right, Harry, go ahead and talk about the multiplayer.
I actually have, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, but real quick. I promise, real quick.
Real quick.
All right, real quick.
Quickie.
Only if
In and out. In and out.
In and out, real quick. One thing I did say with the gameplay in this game that really frustrated me was the difficulty spike that was that final mission. Until then, you're getting 12 to 14 enemies. The final mission is a short mission followed by 24 enemies followed by endless enemies, which are, that's double the amount of what you're used to. And I know you get a squad of 6 plus your commander's
Commander,
avatar, but still, that's a lot more enemies, and especially when you think that second part of the mission is going to be it. By the time I got to the Avatar room the first time, I'd used a lot of my abilities. I'd used a lot of my grenades, thinking, well, just got to get to the end of this. Whole nother room, right? Whole new list of enemies. And I thought that difficulty spike was a little intense on that last mission. The one thing I did like about that last mission, and they did it once, and I thought it was a cool mechanic, and I wish they would have done it more. The comm tower mission, you get to use intel
Oh yeah.
to buy additional things for that mission.
Where did that come from?
Either bringing another guy or having an extra range of vision or
Critical chance.
chance increase, right? You could use your intel to buy that stuff, which I thought was brilliant. Do it everywhere. or
Yeah,
don't
why
do it
not?
everywhere. Just do it on certain critical missions. But they did it once, and I was like, that's a really cool game mechanic.
It makes you wonder why they only utilized the aspect just once
Right.
in the game.
And it wasn't even for the final mission. It was just for that first little patch.
No, weird thing too, because I know that's late in the game, like for that thing where there's not a lot of random missions or anything at that point.
Right.
A lot of the packages to pick up just drop boatloads of intel or supplies. Like they're giving you resources out the fucking ass.
Yep.
At that point in the game, which I thought was like, okay, this definitely has to be the end of the game. This is where if you want to keep continuing to stockpile and build up your arsenal and whatnot, they're basically giving you whatever the fuck you need at that point, which is a little odd at that point in the game. Like it defeats the purpose.
It's not when you need it. You need it early on, not at the end.
True, and that
It makes the game easier.
what's
as
the
it goes
point of
on.
rationing it all this
I agree.
time in the game if they're just going to dump it on you at the end as well? There should be some kind of reward for max min your resources throughout the game. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think it's a valid point.
I don't know if it's just the way that I played it, but I found that I had two missions that were change-ups, like right in a row. Like I had the mission where the ship gets downed, and then you have to go attack like a column,
Yeah.
halfway down the map, and then you have to get everybody back so you can take off. Did you do that mission?
That happened to me earlier.
The mission where your guys you get additional force.
You can then add reinforcements.
Yeah,
and everybody has to stay on
they
the
gave
when
me
you
platform.
get
one-
shot down.
Yeah, they gave
Yeah.
me like one every single turn. Like I
Right.
think I had like 10 or 11 people out on the field, if
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not mistaken.
Well, quick story about how I did that one. That was very late game. Like that was like I did that, and then I think I did the mission where you transmit the antenna, and I was like, these were back to back. And I was like, oh, these are really nice change ups. Why weren't they in the rest of the game? And I really liked the one where you had to defend, go out, and then come back. And what I did was I used Batman, who was my fully mech'd out ranger, and I had a little bit of support. Most people were just staying back. There are all these enemies, and I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm just going to get close, down that thing, and run my ass back, which is exactly what I did. I ran him as far out as I could, used run and gun, and I think I used rapid fire. And with his fully spec'd out shotgun, boom, I did it in one turn, dropped that tower, and then turn around and ran my ass back, and I had the whole thing done in like 4 turns. It was really fun, and it was really cool, and I liked how the whole thing worked out. But there was just that one time where it was a mission like that.
I can't agree with you more, Ralph. That was probably one of my favorite missions in the game. And I if they could do it once.
So they're avoidable too.
Are they?
Yes.
If you have
That's sad.
your defense spec'd high enough.
No. So they are that mission.
I think that's when the UFO chases you down.
Exactly.
Yes, which is avoidable if you do the dark events.
Yeah.
If you do the proper dark events.
Oh, I see.
I staved off from one, but there's also a way to trigger the UFO hunting you down, and that is by moving to too many continents at the same time,
Oh, that's what I did.
and it'll trigger it to happen.
That must be what I did, because I had just gotten to South America.
But you can also avoid it. Where did everyone start too? Because that's different every.
North Africa.
The Arctic. I was in like Siberia.
I started in the northeast of the United States.
South Africa. That being my favorite mission where you use more of your team.
Well, wait a minute. If you're in South Africa, you're like in not the middle of the world, but you're in like the middle of where you want to be. You can just go here to here to here. I would go to like Mexico, and then I got to go to the Arctic to go back to my base to heal people, and I don't just take the Pacific route.
Do you know that the world is a sphere?
I do, but the game doesn't. The game takes
Valid
you from
point.
Mexico all
Yeah,
the
true.
way back
Does it really?
across to it didn't
Jeez.
take me
Yeah.
that little
That
bit
sucks.
to go over.
I wish they would have utilized more of your team more often. Like, remember in XCOM, the first XCOM game, there's that point where you defend the base and you have like your whole team.
Yes. And then they just started setting rookies in.
Again, that's my favorite
Oh, yeah.
mission from the first one. Like if they can handle it on one mission utilizing more than just 6 players, why can't they do that on more than one mission?
Good question.
You know what I mean?
I mean, the final mission handles 7.
But I mean, still, like
There's mods.
there should be multiple missions where you're defending the base.
You know, the final
Just get
mission.
shot down by UFOs.
Yeah,
all the
just
time.
get it done.
The final mission should have been like everybody in
Yeah,
the
why
ship.
the fuck wouldn't they all go?
Everybody in the ship just attack this area, and then there's just like 20 aliens.
Hey, we have one chance to save the planet. Let's
Yeah, the
only send
scienti-
6 guys.
Yeah, the scientist. He's just like, all right.
with a pistol and a special ability to
Yeah,
hide.
dude,
or
I'd
something.
fucking send everybody. So multiplayer.
Summer lovin' had me a blast. Summer lovin' happened so fast.
Bum, bum, bum.
Met a girl crazy for me.
Met a boy, cute as can be.
Bum, 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 bum.
All right. Hey. Let Harry talk about multiplayer.
Shut the fuck up.
Boy, I
Shut!
want cheese.
Shut! I did want to try multiplayer so that I could have the full experience of the game. So I bugged the shit out of Hamill to play me online. Now, when
Who?
Hamill,
He's
the
not
redheaded
here.
fuck.
Oh, him. Baby cakes.
The baby cake's the redheaded fuck.
Oh, him.
Are you guys going to just say that over and over and over again? Or
Summer lovin' had me.
stop singing Grease?
We're stuck in a loop.
Yeah. This is how it
Except
starts.
we're not repeating the audio. It's just us talking through the same conversation. Yeah. You know, the redheaded fuck.
Shut up.
So when we logged on, we were trying to make a lobby. We finally started to set up the game or tried to join in the game lobby. It said, oh, cannot start game. So we were about to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
Said we could not join game because of differentiating content. So I
Right.
went, hopped on the PlayStation Store, downloaded the full works. I was like, this will fucking work. Went to make another game lobby again. Wouldn't let us play again because I had too much content this time. He had the one downloadable content, which I didn't know at the fucking time, came in the game case. Guess who paid an extra $5 to download the free DLC that came with the game?
Ralph.
I paid $20 for all the DLC, paid an extra $5 for that extra $5 that would have been free, and I told Hamill if he downloads it, I'll give him $20. Just because I wanted to play this multiplayer. So the DLC cost me an extra $45 just to play 3 matches of
You
multiplayer.
literally could have bought the game for that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That frustrated the shit out of me. Why is there... Didn't even add anything to the multiplayer. The extra DLC. Saw none of that. Now, multiplayer in general, it was kind of fun. Not worth an extra $45.
What do you do?
It's basically like a normal map. It loads it. And again, fucking incredible amount of load time. You set up your team. You customize it. You could be aliens or humans or a mix of both. Like, they have a point value. It's like basically playing Warhammer.
Okay.
You pick out a team, you get a limit on points, you set it per team, give them upgrades, you equip them, how many characters you want on that team, and then you just basically face off. It takes turns. Now, the irritating part of that, though, is you know how, like, when you're taking your turn in the game, you could be very strategic, take your time, place everybody,
Right.
figure it out. Time between turns is excruciating. Like, I actually walked out of the room, made a couple sandwiches, came back, got a drink, went to the bathroom.
Is it user driven?
What do you mean?
So the person that you're
Yes,
playing
no.
against, they can take however long they want to make that turn. There's no,
You have
there's
that
no timer?
option. You could put a timer on the turns.
How is there no timer? Really?
We just played without a timer because we didn't.
Oh.
We wanted to figure it out. You technically could put a timer on it, but we did not. So we played a couple matches. Hamill surprised me with one game. He was like, "Ooh, I think I glitched it. Don't be mad. Let's play a match." We load up the game. As soon as it shows our forces on the field, each of our respective screens, he starts laughing hysterically. Does not shut up for about 10 minutes. All I hear is just laughing in my headset. And I'm like, what the fuck is so funny? And he's like, oh, you'll see. Finally get his force on the screen. I run a guy up the street. I get overwatched 47 times.
Wow.
The max
47?
players you're supposed to have on your team is 6. He broke it so that he could have an unlimited amount of guys.
What is he, a fucking hacker? How do
Wait,
you do that?
unlimited?
He could have kept going. He just eventually stopped with how many people he put on his team. He actually told me later too he was going to go play ranked play with that team too.
That would be amazing.
And he did it. He did it. I have yet to hear the feedback. I would love to hear it. But let me tell you how frustrating that was. Although they were with really cheap enemies, they were all like the 4 healthers.
Yeah.
I had an awesome team. I had the sniper that did the sharpshooting pistol shot.
God.
I
Oh,
ran him up,
Jesus.
dodged. I had to dodge like 8 Overwatch shots, but then I did the pistol just shot. I took out like 10 dudes
That's amazing.
with that one thing. Same thing with the ranger
Yeah.
that does the Reaper.
Yeah.
Just knocking ducks.
How does that go?
That's
You
the
know.
official sound.
Now I
effect, by the
killed
way.
a ton of dudes,
Donald Duck.
but you still can't take down 47 enemies.
Yeah,
I'm
That
sorry.
is so cool.
6.
Did you record that on your PlayStation? Like after?
He may have. He was talking about it. I did not from my
I
end.
hope one of you did.
Oh man,
He has
that'd
the
be
team.
great to see.
He has the team saved. Please go play a match with him.
I might
Oh,
have to go play
That's
that.
I don't
insane.
have it for PS4, but
It's insane. And he likes to set them all up on Overwatch so that you just turn a blind corner and then you're fucked.
That's so
I'm
funny.
sure.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sure. I'm
You would
sure
do the
he does.
same
That sounds
thing.
amazing.
You would
Just
do
like
the
one of those like 3-story buildings just full of like sectoids. Just
So-
like,
What about 60 Rangers with blade masks?
yeah, just-
See, I don't know. I don't know how he glitched it out. Maybe he can duplicate it with maybe the sectopods or something like that, and just set up like 47 of those fucking things
God.
coming at you.
Christ.
just all of them on the
Now,
stilts.
playing with the aliens.
I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
The thing with the green ooze that shot the blast thing.
Automatons.
yeah,
Most broken character in Versus.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're pretty.
They're
gross.
insane. I mean, even better than the giant robot.
Sectopod.
Yeah,
Sectopods.
Yeah, I forget all the names. Sorry.
Don't blame me.
They were disgusting though. But no, check it out. I think you should at least play a couple matches, but it is excruciatingly long. To
Yeah.
get 3 matches in, I think it was over the course of 2.5 to 3 hours.
Jesus.
3 hours plus $45.
sounds like it was worth it though.
Can I just have $20?
I mean, I got a good story out of it. I mean, although I was on the receiving end of it,
Yeah.
but
Those are your favorite kinds of stories.
but no, big glitch in the game.
he's on the receiving
That
end?
shit should
Yep.
get polished out immediately.
that's another quality of life issue, though. Can't play without the same exact DLC as the competitor.
Graphics.
All right, so let's jump into graphics, guys. I don't know about any of you guys. I have never seen the faceless spawn without turning into a big black blob at some point or another.
I had that issue every single time.
What are you talking about? That has got to be a console thing. I've never seen that.
It
Might
might be, but there were a lot of graphical glitches
Yeah.
in this game. Like, you see full eyeballs on people, which was fucking weird.
Didn't experience that one.
Yeah,
they
that
would
one.
they would like
Ooh.
glitch out. Oh yeah, like the eyelids would glitch out, and you could just see their whole eyeballs inside of the model.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was bad.
No, that's part of the Avatar, the Advent program.
Yeah.
Avatar project. Remove all eyelids.
I mean, the graphics aren't remarkable, and I think if they were, I couldn't.
You like that, Eric?
imagine.
I do.
I couldn't imagine what the load times would be
Oh,
if
yeah.
the graphics were anywhere near. This is a game that honestly could have probably been played on a 360.
Easy. I mean, I think this game could be played. It's not a stretch from PS2, late gen PS2.
Yeah, I just don't think the processing power is there for that.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
it would take 3 years to load, but you know,
Yeah.
I mean, but realistically, the graphical capacity of this game is not. It's not high. I mean,
Yeah. I mean
the glitchiness is just
the
shoot through walls.
I will say, however, I do like the character designs, the weapon designs, and things like that. I think they look cool. It's just they're not the highest caliber, highest performance graphics.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Really couldn't agree more. I mean, this is a game that is interesting because it's so immersive and so much fun to play, and I would rate it highly, which we'll get to. But the graphics are nothing to write home about, and the story is nothing to write home about. It's really all in the gameplay and the stories that you create on your own, as Clark said.
And you know, the graphics, there's a number of things that bother me with it. Things clipping through other things. You know, people shooting directly into the corner of a wall. You know, and that's just a programmer saying, well, it doesn't matter. You're shooting at this thing. Instead of your guy just popping out for a second and taking the shot, him just shooting directly through a wall is just like, It's just a little
ridiculous.
lazy.
Yeah.
It's a little lazy. And what really got me with the graphics in this game is I know they were trying to make it like more exciting and action based, like when you make your final move and it's like a guy running to another cover.
It gets old real quick.
And they do that follow cam. That's
You can turn that off, I think. The
But
follow
it's
cam.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I didn't explore the graphics options. Maybe there's a high quality graphics thing that I missed.
I don't think so.
That yeah, I had a number of times where I'd frame rate drop.
Oh yeah.
I had
Big explosions.
big
They would
explosions. Things would just
just die.
things would disappear and then reappear dead.
Poorly optimized.
Yeah, it's just poorly optimized,
tested.
and yeah, and maybe that's the I don't know if that's the way it is on PC.
It's very similar. I mean,
Okay.
I'll admit that my frame rate wasn't the best until I went into my settings and I downgraded my resolution from 1080p to 720, which you'd think is obviously something you wouldn't have to do.
Yeah,
But this is something that I actually had the same exact issue with XCOM and Enemy Within,
Yeah.
where if I had the resolution set all the way, everything looked sharp, but the frame rate was kind of iffy, and I would prefer frames per second, even though this isn't a really heavy. It's not like a first-person shooter where you need those frames, but just the fluidity of motion to have it. I added jaggies to it. I dropped the resolution. The frame rate was much better. And overall, the experience was more fun to play.
So I don't know if you guys did see that, but with the faceless ones, I did see the big black blob
Yeah.
every single time.
I
And I was
didn't.
actually, I was just
Every
crossing my
time.
fingers every time. I was like, come on, just once. Can it just like morph without an issue? And nope, didn't experience that.
Yeah.
It was
not once.
every single time. I did like the environments though.
Yeah. They weren't
yeah.
bad.
I mean, aesthetically, it wasn't. Like, I like the art direction. I
Yeah.
think the art direction in the game was really good. I liked where they went with the weapon and the character design. I think the way they designed the suits was interesting.
I even like the alien military bases with all the red laser fencing.
Oh, and like-
or
Yeah.
anything
Yeah, I
like
thought that was cool.
Yeah, I did like that. I like the design. I don't know. Graphically, I guess it's okay, but that is an issue with the frame rate and everything. Like, come on.
I think the best looking sequence in the entire game is the room where you kill the avatars. That, I think, is the most interesting environment that you're put in. It's this crazy, like, teal and gold throne room. I think it was the most interesting. I think the most interesting looking parts of the game were where they did start to get more alien. Like when you go to the portal and there's all like that alien, like weird, there's the flowers and stuff like that and like the growths from the ground. I mean, everything else looks generic, but also humans build in a semi-generic way unless it's a monument or something like that.
Yeah.
Or gigantic building. But I did like the art direction. I liked how everything looked.
The art direction of the game, the design of everything doesn't bother me at all. But it's graphically, technically sloppy. And that drives me nuts when I'm buying a AAA title for $60. Or for Harry's, $85.
Yeah. His $85 game.
I mean, but, I expect a certain level of polish and care. And you see it sometimes in $15 games on Steam, or you see it in $15 games on PS Plus or whatever. I don't mind if there's graphical issues in a $10 game, or something that I only paid a couple bucks for.
You expect it.
I expect a certain level of build quality when I'm buying a AAA title.
And that bothers me too, because they obviously play tested this. They overextended themselves knowing that this was going to be an issue.
Well, so I really think it has to do with the fact that it's a port and it wasn't designed for the PlayStation.
But I know, but Ralph's even saying he had those same issues on the PC.
Yeah, I mean, even when the game came out and it was just PC exclusive, people were complaining about the same things we're complaining here. We're not far off.
And again, they must have play tested that unless they only play tested on these super, super high-end PCs, and then that's not even being realistic for the general market.
Well, it's not
demographic,
even just
no.
that. I mean, these aren't issues of your PC or your PS4 not having the capability of doing it. It's graphical glitches in
built
the
in.
software,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
graphical glitches that are built in because they're just not good design decisions from a game design standpoint.
So generally, as a rule, I mean, some of our listeners don't know this. Like, I work as a software analyst. I work in like the tech world.
I don't think I knew that.
I test. And,
You
I
never
test
asked,
and,
Ralph.
Yeah.
No.
I test and break things. And when you're gonna put out a piece of software like this, what you actually need to do is you need to play it on. Well, for games, it's your minimum requirements. That's where you need to actually test and stuff. So, like you were saying, if they were playing on high end computers and things, you're not going to get the best quality for the low end. Let's move on to sound.
Papa's got a brand new bag. Why's greased lightning?
Music.
None of the music is remarkable to me.
The one theme that does stick out is when you're launching for a mission or coming back from a mission. That's the only one that really resonates.
And you get it really in 30-second dribbles, and even then, it's not even that great. It's your typical semi-sci-fi, a little bit of synth in the menus and stuff like that. But really, when you're even playing the game, it's menu music. Yep. It's not music that stands out.
I turned the music off for the I turned the music off, and I was listening to other stuff.
Yep.
And I've done that a lot with this series.
I don't do that often.
Neither do I.
And it's usually something that I want to listen to what the game is trying to say. And I did it for a few hours.
For the
and
immersion.
But I just put on Spotify. After a certain amount of time, I was just I mean, it just got very repetitive with the sound design. And, the voice acting in the game is good. I think from a sound aspect, I think the highlight of it is probably the voice acting, not the music or the sound effects.
I think that's a valid point too, John. I did have that in my notes. I think the voice acting is on par.
That being said, they need to shut the fuck up during the mission when I'm trying to actually do stuff.
Oh,
that drives me bananas. BANANAS. Because, they're sitting there and they're looking at it and you're going, okay, I've got 4 turns to do this objective. And they go, let me tell you about how we're going to blow up this van if you don't do this. And then the other chick comes in and is like, well, you got to make sure you get the thing. And you're like, I know. Just let me do it. It drives me nuts.
I liked the sound effects. But
the sound effects were great.
The voice work didn't really tickle anything.
If you're speaking sound effects real quick.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the sound effect for the chain gun on the what was it? The highest upgraded one. What was that?
Oh,
laser weapons?
Yeah.
Was that?
Mm-hmm.
Was that what it was? I don't know. I just
magnetic
beam.
Beam.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the beam weapon, chain gun. Loved it every single time. I don't know why.
He's got it on a loop in his car.
Yeah. It's my new text tone.
All right, so let's move into final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I feel like this was sort of a natural progression from Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within. I feel that the take that we lost the war and now we're on the defense was enough of a change to make it worth it being its own thing. Overall, I enjoyed the changes that they made. Really love the fact that we have melee. I feel that also at the same time, though, the company that made it, Firaxis or Firaxis, they made changes, but they really didn't change or fix enough with the franchise. They really need to step up their game for an XCOM 3. They need to release something that isn't broken and something where the numbers make sense. And they can keep their story going, whatever they want. It's all about the stories that we make on our own and what we bring to the table with the game. Final thoughts? I mean, I'd buy XCOM 3, even if it still had graphical glitches, I guess. Because it's not a game breaker for me. It's really not.
Right.
We'll get to the rating, but overall, the good outweighs the bad. I enjoy this franchise. I will continue to play these games.
And I think that most people that play this franchise would probably agree with you. All right, final thoughts. I think this is a good game that I really want to like a lot more. I really want to like this game a lot more. And I can't because of all the flaws that we talked about in this thing. There's graphical glitches. The audio is pretty unremarkable. The storyline really isn't there. Gameplay has its flaws. I think there's a lot of good here, and I think it could be really good, but there are reasons that I probably would wait until it's on sale before I would buy XCOM 3. And it's just one of those things I couldn't see myself spending $60 on this game again.
So, between story, gameplay, graphics, and music, I think 3 out of 4 are kind of weak. Now, normally, I would probably grade that game really low based on that. But because gameplay is weighted so heavily, how you basically want to look at this game, like gameplay is just such a dominant factor when looking into this franchise. I think it's going to actually end up pulling up the score a little bit. But no, like Ralph said, I think I would buy an XCOM 3, regardless of all these issues as well. I do think XCOM 1 is the better game comparatively to
Enemy
XCOM.
Within.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, it gets back to I like defending the Earth rather than trying to retake it. I thought it was just such a much cooler concept.
Enemy Unknown is the first one.
Yeah,
It is,
Enemy
but
Within was
The
the
DLC.
Enemy Within is the DLC that gives you
Yeah.
Mex
Mex.
and other
Yep.
other addeds, which I thought was better than Enemy Unknown.
Yeah. Granted, I know we were really putting down the other categories, but if you enjoy the gameplay and can ignore the other factors, I think this is a pretty solid game to jump into.
All right, so my final thoughts on this game are, I kind of agree with Harry. This game is not without its flaws. There's a bunch of them. You know, we all, I think, very clearly stated all of the flaws of this game. There's just something about that fucking gameplay that even though now I know the ending to the story, the epic story, I say that with air quotes.
You can't see the air quotes.
That's why I was explaining the air quotes.
Okay.
There's just something about this gameplay that, you know, I would play it again. I want an XCOM 3. I would buy an XCOM 3. Probably not at full price. I actually waited on this because I knew it had issues, but I would totally dive headfirst into an XCOM 3 for the right price. Personally, if you like hard strategy games, this is kind of the pinnacle of it.
We didn't talk about the difficulty. This game is brutal. At least in my
we
opinion.
were talking about how hard it is. The game is brutal. The game is designed to have permadeath. Like, there are very few games like it. It's very hard to scratch that itch, especially outside of a fantasy game. And this is like the sci-fi pinnacle of the hard, challenging, tactical game. So let's move into the scores.
The score. I did a lot of thinking of this.
Hmm.
And this is what is actually helping me. I've been making my little chart based on the games that we played because I'd like to see. I'm
I
doing
need to
like
do
one of
that
those
too.
100 lists kind of thing. Like, ooh, do I think it's better than this game? No, but is it better than this game? You know what I mean? It's really helping me grade it how I see fit. And I'm starting to think, please don't take offense to this, but Metal Gear Solid is throwing off my list.
Really?
I feel like I should have graded it lower.
Okay. You're
You
entitled
can't
to
change
that
your
opinion.
grade.
I know, I'm not going to.
So work around it, you
You-
fucking bitch.
He wasn't gonna.
Let me grab my list.
You got
real
all the
quick.
recessive genes, I can tell.
Brother, it's been too long.
Oh, Jesus. Where's my sheet?
Oh my God,
Oh,
Harry.
here it is.
Oh,
It was
Jesus.
one page away.
All right, Ralph, you go first.
All right, I think I'm gonna go with a 77% on this. I mean, I do really like it. I want to get it into the 80s, but there are so many.
I had my score ready.
No, you
So
didn't.
there's so many things that detract. I don't know.
So
You know what?
77.
I think 77 or like an 81. Like I can't.
Okay, that's a little bit of
I
a
know
leap.
that's different. It just.
I want to go with an odd number.
Yeah, right. It's not a 79. It's not an 80.
So what do you got? What's your final
All
thing?
right, 79.
79.
Split the
79%.
difference.
All right,
It's fair.
John, go ahead.
Harry, you ready? I'll let you go.
Yeah, let me go.
John, go ahead.
All right, so here's my score.
5 Travoltas out of 5.
So
It gets a Con Air.
I am ranking this above Metal Gear Solid, but below Silent Hill.
Well, that seems logical for you.
I am giving this a 7.5, which is exactly on par with Parasite Eve, because I couldn't differentiate which one was the better game. There's different factors that draw me to each one, and I don't think either one gets the edge over the other.
If I was grading this and I was a teacher, I would say this is about a 75. 75 for me is a C. So I would give this a C on Steve's scale. That being said, I would pay more than I would normally pay for a C game for this game because the gameplay is so repeatable. I would pay $37.42.
All right, so Hamill's highest rated game is $37 right now.
I mean, I don't know what Hamill's other.
Hamill's pretty tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty cheap. I mean,
All right, so I'm going to continue with my arbitrary thing. I'm going to give this 1 unattainable plasma rifle out of 7 frustrating crashes. All right, this is usually the part where we would answer listener questions. We answered a bunch last week. We kind of ran through them, and we kind of got late posting that we were going to be recording tonight. So hit us up. You can send us an email at superfunpodcastgo@gmail.com. And you can also send us messages on our Facebook, which is facebook.com/superfunpodcast. And you can also hit us up on Twitter at superfunpodcast. Our next game is going to be the game that we've held a survey for. So I'm just going to read down real quick our lovely survey here.
Save the winner for last.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Cool.
Super Metroid got 2 votes. Yeah, it was a shame. Surprisingly, Kid Chameleon got 3, which is a little bit of a shocker. Red Dead Redemption only got 7. Resident Evil 2 got 9. And last but not least, our winner is going to be Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo. So, what has everyone else been playing?
So I got Final Fantasy 15
Yay!
Yay!
for Christmas. I am digging it so far.
Did your girlfriend get to do that?
Yes, she did.
Oh, she's the best.
Yeah. I will say I'm loving a lot of the game. Early impressions, now I can't say this for the long haul because I only sunk about like 6 or 7 hours in. I don't like their magic system. I don't know if anybody else experienced that yet so far.
Oh, because he's like drawing it
Yeah.
from the earth?
It's like Final Fantasy VIII,
No,
except
don't say that.
worse.
Don't say that.
No, it's worse than Final Fantasy VIII's magic system.
Because you could draw that from any enemy throughout the game, whereas this, they're
Camp
actual-
points.
Yep. Sponsored by Coleman.
Yes. No, you tell
The
Coleman
Coleman
is a big
logo
sponsor in this
is
game.
in every
That is a
shot.
fairly warm take.
No, there's a lot of aspects of the game I'm really digging so far, and I'm just excited to go home and really dive into this for like a full 24 hours.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm buying that.
Balls deep. Bird up.
Worst show ever.
I
ahead,
love
John.
that show. All right, so I've been playing a couple of different things right now. Titanfall 2 has kind of been my go-to blow stuff up after I get home from work.
Besides the bathroom.
Do you have a Vita, John?
I do not. I do not, but I heard Clark likes to play video games on the Vita.
Yeah,
So-
the Vita's a great console. Sony really didn't support it.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
It is a shame. But no, I've been playing a lot of Titanfall 2, and then I've also been playing a game that is free on PlayStation Network called Let It
Was
Die.
free.
Is it expensive now?
Oh, wait, no. That's right. It's free to play.
It's always been free to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Let It Die. It's a roguelike, kind of Dark Souls-esque in gameplay, which is one of my favorite series. It is free. You can always play it for free, but you probably will never beat it if you do not pay some money, and I don't think I'll ever be able to beat it because I refuse to pay money for it. It has definitely got some pay-to-win elements. It really, it's more of a, if you want to keep the character that you have and not have to start a new character, you have to pay to revive them, basically. You get these things called death medals, and you get some just for logging in every day, but you can tell it's not enough to really get through it. It's a fun game, though. Do enjoy it. So it's a nice distraction, especially coming off of something like XCOM, and when I get tired of the really, really fast pace of Titanfall 2, I feel like it's a nice change of pace.
I have to admit, I'm in a similar position to Harry. I've been playing Final Fantasy 15, and I'm about 7.5 hours into it. There's a segment where you are free to roam the area, and you haven't really progressed the story. And I was exploiting that, where it's like, okay, I know if I do this, it's going to trigger an event, and I'm just going to take the time to enjoy, what I have access to right now, and get to know the game and get familiar with that, and do some hunts to hunt different animals and that kind of thing. And then I triggered the event, and it's like, okay, the world's opened up a little bit. I hear it plays like Kingdom Hearts plays.
Oh, can I say, I do love the music so far.
Yeah.
Clark, what are you playing? Bird up.
All right, so recently I've been playing some Titanfall 2. I've been playing a lot of Fire Emblem Awakening.
Cool.
That's been pretty cool. I actually got that for Christmas. Other than that, I haven't really had a lot of time to play anything else.
What about The Last of Us? You haven't played that?
No, fuck that game. I've been playing Ark with a bunch of people. All right, well, thank you for listening to our podcast. I want to thank John for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Thank you,
yeah,
John.
Thank you
It
for
was a joy
sitting
having
in.
you.
Now go home.
game over.